Well, thank you everybody for joining us on our first Q&A for 2024. We are super excited to have you all here, and we really hope that you enjoyed this conversation because we always enjoy our conversations. We are thrilled and honored today to have the founder of Long Island Paranormal Investigators, Michael Cardinuto. And he is an experienced investigator, researcher of urban legends and ghost stories in Long Island, and all-around paranormal expert. So welcome, sir.
Welcome. So I read that as a kid, you accepted a dare to go into the old Kings Park Psychiatric Center, and that started you on your paranormal journey. Do you still prefer to investigate old asylums, and do you think they have more energy than other locations?
I love investigating asylums. I think a lot of them do definitely have activity. We had 4 major ones here on Long Island. The main one that everyone always talks about is Kings Park Psych Center. We've also investigated Rolling Hills Asylum, upstate New York. We did Crescent Sanatorium last summer. We did Trans-Allegheny, Penhurst. So we've done a whole bunch, and we've gotten evidence at pretty much all of them. So I've never really been to a psych center where I've investigated where I haven't captured evidence. With Kings Park, I've gone there because it's so local. So I've gone there during the daytime and nighttime. The nighttime takes on a whole different realm than the daytime does. I've gone through there during the day. I've walked through there by myself, wouldn't care. Nighttime, probably not so much.
So. Fair point. Do you feel like the energy is just different in locations like
that? Yeah, I definitely do. I think it has a lot to do with the patients that were there, a lot of times the way they were treated. And it was a lot of times people forget that's kind of the only life a lot of them know. So when we pass away, we can go to all these different places that we remember, like I love Gettysburg. I'll probably go there. Never been to Hawaii, but if I can go, I'll go there. Where that's the only life they pretty much lived and know of. So they intend to kind of go back to that. And I think that's probably a good reason why those places are haunted.
Yeah, that's true. I never really thought of it that way in terms of the spirits themselves and how, because of their living mental status, how that affects their ability as a spirit after the fact.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, and there's so much trauma harbored in these locations. Like, more than half the time, these people were not treated well whatsoever. I can only imagine maybe they're stuck in like that state, and who knows, there must be like an energy exchange that happens from day to day. Who knows? Maybe it's like a passing or like rotating door of energies. You never know.
Who knows?
Yeah, us as a team, we've never investigated an asylum.
Individually, some of us have.
If you ever get a chance to do Penhurst, Penhurst is a pretty good one to kind of start at. There's a lot of activity there. They have a lot of history. I mean, you see videos from the past of what people experience.
Oh yeah.
It's not like it's just like an urban legend. This stuff really did happen. So
yeah, I've done Penhurst 3 times, and it never disappoints. Intense.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, we'll see. We actually applied to have a table there at the Paracon, so fingers crossed.
Nice. We'll be there. So.
Woohoo! Word. All right. Can you tell us about your favorite Long Island urban legend?
Favorite Long Island urban legend? Man, that's a hard question. Our group started out with urban legends. We still do it today. I mean, that's the bulk of our investigations. I feel like a lot of groups don't do that stuff. We have a lot of history here on Long Island, and that was one of the key reasons why we got started, was to see if what people are experiencing at these locations is really happening. And through our investigations, we've actually gotten a lot of evidence. I would say probably one of my favorite is a location called Mount Misery Road in Melville. It's actually West Hills County Park, and we broke it up into 4 different sites because it's such a large area. And the main one is Site 3, which we call Site 3. A lot of different legends occurred there. They say that there was a hospital there, either like a military or a psychiatric hospital, and there was a patient named Mary. It's always Mary, and she broke out, burnt it down multiple times, and they stopped building it. There's no facts on that. There's nothing, no history on it. We can't find anything on that specific stuff. But um, in the 1970s, people were doing demonic rituals in those woods, and whatever they did it. And one night investigating there, we actually stumbled upon that type of activity. I've taken a lot of demonology lectures, and we walked in, there's just a group of 4 of us, and I would start to smell like a rotten egg smell, which is a classic characteristic of demonic activity. While I was smelling it, the other 3 people didn't. And a couple seconds later, it would stop smelling for me, and then somebody else would pick up on it. And then a couple seconds later, another person would pick on it. So literally target each one of us. And my wife's in the group, and she's a psychic, and she picked up on a name. So I was like, all right, well, just don't say the name out loud. Just keep it to yourself for now. Keep going on our investigation. And towards the end, she saw something on the ground like scurrying. I didn't see anything. I'm not psychic. I'm like the science guy. And one of the other investigators saw it. So he points at it, and she's like, yeah, that's it. So I'm like, don't say what you guys see. Let's go back to our office. So we get back, separate them, and they draw what they saw. And it matches about 90-95%. So I take the name that she picked up, and I start running it through our demonology database. And sure enough, it's a low-end demon. I look up what this thing would look like, and it matched their drawings about 85-90%. So I was like, wow, this is pretty wild. So what do? We go back a week later, we go back with the team, and it's all the same stuff. We're picking up on the smells. We're hearing like a female screaming at the top of her lungs at like 1:30 in the morning. Picked all this stuff up on audio, and just a bunch of experience. So fast forwarding a couple of years later, we go back there, and my second in command at the time, Dimitri, calls me up. He's like, hey, when you get home, check the Mount Misery file. So I'm like, okay. So I open up the file. When I get home, I give him a call, and basically he's like, do you see the pattern? And I'm like, yeah, that's crazy. There's an actual pattern of the activity that happens every time in September, during like around the full moon. And we've been investigating it for years now, and pretty much can guarantee that evidence happens. Time we do an investigation, we do what's called a field report. Whether we capture something or not, we log all the equipment that we used, all the readings that we captured, and the evidence that was found, if we captured anything or not. And so we have all this data. So we were able to pinpoint actual patterns to this activity. So yeah,
Wow.
location's pretty awesome.
That's wild.
Yeah.
And the validation too,
Yeah.
that you were able to obtain. That's like the dream, having the
it's
experience
pretty
and
awesome.
being able to validate it with information.
Yeah, that's why it's like we're so big on field reports and data, and we've been doing it since day one, since 2003, since our first investigation at Kings Park. We filled out a field report. We've been doing it ever since, and so we have like probably 900 something field reports, probably 900 to close to 1,000 maybe. So we have files and everything. We have a database in our computer system. We have paper files as well. I'm very old school when it comes to that kind of stuff. But we're trying to get the paranormal community to see this stuff. When we do conventions, we have our field reports on the table to show people you need to do this, because if it's not documented, it never happened.
Yep.
You can have all the experiences you want, but if you didn't document it, it never happened.
Yep.
So we're trying to build like this and trying to get groups together and maybe try to create a database for people to upload all their investigations. So, we've been to Penhurst, say, 3 times. Now, if another team wants to go to Penhurst, they can kind of go into this database, look at all the teams that have done it, see what they captured, and see if they're getting the same stuff. See if there's patterns. You know, the more people that get involved in trying to do that, the more breakthroughs we might have in the paranormal field. So that's something we're kind of working on now.
Yeah. No, we totally understand that, because especially with our client investigations, we take our reports very seriously, because when we do, obviously they're private, we're not going to share those, but just for our sake, we timestamp everything. We make sure we cross-check everything. So if one person thinks they heard a noise, they think it's paranormal, but someone else's timestamp validates that, no, that was just me walking through the kitchen on the other side of the house. It's important to be able to document all that and keep the evidence obtained through the equipment, because then also you're cross-checking psychic impressions with equipment to make sure you can validate it on both ends of the spectrum.
Exactly. Yep.
Absolutely. But I'm curious though, do you think by having a database that someone could read other people's experiences beforehand, could that impact their experience on the investigation, because they're predetermined to have almost that same experience themselves?
Yeah. So with it depends on the person, but yeah, I agree. Like a lot of times when we get a house case, people in we have a large team. We have like 35 people in our group, and everyone's like, "Oh, what happened there?" I'm like, "I'm not telling you guys," and they're like, "Well, why not?" I'm like, "Because I want you to go in there with a clear mind
Right.
and experience it for yourself." With myself, I could read up on what everyone experienced and go in there and forget about it and do my investigation and decide on my own. Like we just did Old Hospital on College Hill in West Virginia about a month ago. And I watched the Destination Fear and Project Fear episodes to see what evidence they captured, what experiences they had. And they said that there was something evil on the fourth floor in the basement. I didn't feel that, even knowing that. You think you'd kind of go in there with that mindset, but I went in there with a clear mind and said, I'm just going to feel it for myself. And, I'm able to do that. But yeah, I think a lot of people could read that and kind of put that in their head. There's a thing that we train on in a group called the Philip experiment. Not a lot of people are too familiar with it. It's on our website, and they took a group of 5 people and believers, non-skeptics, like these people really believed in the paranormal, and the idea was this person made up this fake location, and it was haunted by King Philip, and they gave this whole thing, and they started investigating. And at first, they didn't really want to capture anything, but over time, because they believed this story so much, they started getting evidence, and they kind of created and manifested that haunting from themselves, something that was completely made up. So I always tell everyone that train people, when you go in there with a clear conscience. Don't think anything's going to happen. So when it does, it's more valuable.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. That's true.
We've had conversations like that where we've talked about, these super famous haunted locations like Lizzie Borden or whatever. And you wonder to yourself, because it's investigated so much and because people are walking in with that knowledge, are they making it worse or even creating it in the first place?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Yep.
Sure.
But you did mention your website, which, by the way, I was on, and it is an amazing website. It is filled with so much information, so many reference points in terms of your equipment, your theories, and it's really impressive. I did notice on there, however, you talked about a local sanitarian, and I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about that.
Trying to think which one that would be.
You were doing a fundraiser for it. I guess they were having land rights, like debate on that.
I saw that.
Oh, that was a while. That was Kings Park. That was a while ago. They were talking about tearing it down. This is many years ago, and they wanted to build condos and stuff. So we were just trying to get the public involved, and we really didn't do too much. It was more the townspeople didn't want basically developers to come in, knock the psych center down to build all these condos, just because the traffic over there would be a nightmare. So the state kind of stepped in and they deemed it like parkland. The buildings aren't necessarily safe. So now nobody can come in and develop the land. But if they wanted to, they could demo every building if they wanted to and put like, a dog park or baseball fields and all that kind of stuff. Right now, there's a fight against all that. One of the buildings, Building 93, just got entered in on the endangered historical landmarks. So it goes to the top of the list. We are a nonprofit organization, so we are trying to get public eyes in on that. And being that it's on the top of the list, if you can get a good grant writer and all that kind of stuff, you can kind of get funding to save the building. This building is massive. It's not, I mean, the buildings at Penhurst, you could probably fit 4 of them inside this one building. Thing's huge. It's like 13 stories tall. It's massive. I mean, the cleanup on that building alone, the cost would be probably a good close to 150, 200 grand minimum. I'm sorry, million minimum. I mean, it's such a large building. So, but we're hoping to try to get control of the site to do what they're doing at Penhurst and Trans-Allegheny and all that stuff to show people, hey, this is history, it's mental history too, and don't make the same mistakes as we used to, so.
Exactly. It's like we should remember our historical landmarks,
Yeah. Like Trans-Allegheny does a great job with their psych center. They do all that. They do a historic tour of history of mental health, and they show like lobotomy rooms and the tools used and all that stuff. Like it's pretty deep. The paranormal is just an extra bonus for all of us that investigate, but the history is there. I mean, there's a lot. So.
Well, yeah, if we don't remember our history, we're doomed to repeat it, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah. So I noticed that you live in Lake Ronkonkoma. Are you familiar with the legends of the Lady of the Lake?
Of course. Yeah, I don't actually grew up that. Yeah, I don't live there anymore. I live about 15 minutes from there. I'm in Selden now, but yeah, I grew up in Lake Ronkonkoma. I remember as a kid, I was only maybe less than a mile from the lake, and I used to find arrowheads in my backyard as a kid. I wish I kept them because it's like that thing. But, yeah, it was wild, and yeah, the legend of the lake. We investigate Lake Ronkonkoma. We actually broke it up like north, south, east, west. The co-founder, he's not in the group anymore, but his parents had a house right on the lake, so we used to be able to investigate. It was awesome, and we've captured a lot of evidence all around that area. The legends, I mean, for a while, one male died in that lake.
Right. It's all about the men. They drown, I guess, repeatedly in the lake because of, I guess she was a squaw and she wanted to marry a man that wasn't in the tribe. And then, of course, with all those stories, they end up jumping off a cliff and into the lake and they die. And so that's the...
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And for the longest time, a male died in that lake every year. It was always one male every year.
That's what I heard.
And then it like dropped out a couple of years. I want to say like around 2015, 2016, there was no deaths, and then it picked back up again. And ever since a couple of years ago, every year somebody's been passing away in that lake. And it's wild. It is a freshwater lake, so there are some lifeguards that used to talk about, you look across the lake and you're like, I can make that swim. And they swim out there not realizing, all right, it's pretty far. And they turn back and they get real tired real quick. Being that's fresh water, you just sink. You don't float in fresh water. As opposed to like the beach where you're in salt water, you could just float. And a lot of people get too tired and they go. But there's a lot of legends where it's connected. There's like an underground tunnel that goes out to Connecticut and all this stuff. There's a New York State actually they have these urban legend markers, like how people, like a lot of states have historical markers. We have legend markers, and they actually have one for the Lady of the Lake, which is pretty cool. So
what? That's awesome. They don't do that here in Jersey.
Yeah, it's really cool.
No, we just have like that weird.
I'm surprised they even did it here. That's true.
Damn, we gotta write to somebody, people. We write to the state.
Yeah.
How would you even address that?
Flying Barons, the Jersey Devil, that Montauk thing, I don't know, yeah. And we got a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys got a lot of stuff over in Jersey. Oh yeah, you guys definitely have it.
We got a lot more of everything in Jersey.
Good and bad.
We just roll with the punches here. Well, now that we've kind of tapped into your Long Island experiences, we were kind of hoping to pick your brain a little bit in terms of running a team. I know a lot of people always have this idea of either joining a team or starting their own team, not realizing the extensive work that goes into it. And, in speaking with you last time at the Sleepy Hollow Expo, it seems like we have similar ideas of how teams should be run, how members should be trained. So we do have some questions on that. I believe Brittany has the first one.
What paranormal theory would you subscribe to the most, would you say?
Ooh. That's a good one. Yeah.
Listen, we really thought about these questions.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I'm just trying to think back in like all of the reports that we have. I would say probably EMF, electromagnetic fields, is probably, I think, a theory that makes sense. There's a lot of them that make sense, but that one I can't explain sometimes when we're out in the middle of the woods. I mean, there's no power. We require every member to turn off their phones and put them on airplane mode so there's no signals. And we'll have something like the natural trifield meter that picks up regular natural EMF. It does not pick up man-made EMF. And this thing will be on the ground, and all of a sudden, bam, this needle starts spiking and going off. Like, I can't explain that, or having like a digital EMF. I mean, the K2 meter is an EMF meter. It's not bad. And there have been times where that thing will just go off randomly, and I'd ask it to do it again. And a lot of times, I'll ask it to do something. So I remember there was Mount Misery Road. We were having hits on that thing, and I had that meter, and it's called an electrosmog meter, where it just picks up radio frequencies. And I was asking questions, and this thing was maxing out, and I'm like, all right, you know what? Can you go into the yellow? And bam, holds into the yellow, which is like the center of both of those meters, and it drops down. I'm like, all right, you know what? Going back into the red, and it goes up a little bit, lights a little bit of the red, drops down. I'm like, all right, I guess that's close enough. Bam, jumped right back into the red. Like, I can't explain. I mean, coincidence? I don't know. To me, I don't know. EMF, I think, is definitely one of the top theories. And there's so many EMF meters that you can use. We use, I don't even know how many we have. We have 11 different kinds, which is great because people don't realize there's all different frequencies when it comes to EMF. Like, this meter might detect this level of EMF and another one's not as sensitive, and so on and so forth. That's why we use so many different kinds. So yeah, I think that's a pretty good theory.
Yep. Oh, yeah. And it's a good one. We always say, like, sometimes the simplest equipment and the simplest theories are the most validating because they're also the most difficult to disprove. Like something like that. If you have repeated answers to your request with an EMF meter, like, how can you prove otherwise? If you're all just sitting there in the same room, same atmosphere, same equipment, nothing's interfering with it. So I totally get it.
Yeah, I mean, temperature theory is really good too with the different types of thermometers. I mean, that's probably like my secondary one. That's another big one. But those are the two top ones, I think.
Yeah, totally get it. Okay. I mean, you see these TV shows now, and it's like they have the most ridiculous equipment that picks up on the most absurd things supposedly, and they're not even using it correctly. I know. They're like picking up a tri-field and moving it around, being like, it's making sound. Well, yeah, you're moving it.
It's so cringe moments.
Yeah.
That's like the EDI meter is a perfect example of that. When we get new equipment, we break it down. I mean, we really dive into the technical aspects of that equipment. And when you look at the EDI meter, and we use it, it's not bad, but we use it for what it's worth. And it's not worth a whole lot. It's expensive, but when you look at why those lights light up, what the changes are, they're so minute. where it's like I can literally walk from one end of the room to the other, and it's going to change in pressure, humidity, temperature. It changes such a small amount where I don't even count it because it's not worth it. I usually mainly use it for the EMF and the regular temperature, like the ambient. That's really in the geophone. I don't even use the humidity and pressure sensor on it because they're always going off.
Yeah.
So
Right.
yeah, that's a problem for that.
Yeah. Plus the outside factors it's way too easily influenced.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Definitely.
Yep.
Yeah. But speaking of TV shows and whatnot, so since you founded your team, I feel like the paranormal industry has become so well known. Like it's gotten so popular. How have you feel that running your team has changed over the years because of this influx of amateur investigators and just general interest in it?
The interest is definitely there. We get a lot of applicants always around Halloween time, especially. We have a very strict policy of how we take on new members. If you want to just be a ghost hunter, this is not the group for you. We're a team that meets up every single week. Like we have our own office. So we meet up every week, every Thursday night from 8 p.m. to I try to get everyone out by 11:30. On top of house investigations, events on the weekends, we're doing it. Our training program, I prefer to take in somebody who knows nothing of the paranormal than somebody who's been in two or three groups and thinks they know it all because our methods are very, very different. We sit there, we train, we make sure everyone's taking out equipment. We give exams for every single piece of equipment that we have. I run our group like a business. So our investigators are very well aware and know what the hell they're doing, especially, we do a lot of urban legends on Thursday nights to do that training. So when we do a house investigation and they walk in there, they know what they're talking about. They know how to use that equipment. Or when we do events to the public and they're asking us questions, we want to make sure we're giving that right information out. So yeah, I mean, the influx in the past 20 years has changed so much, in good ways and bad ways. In good ways, in that people are more open to the paranormal. It's not like hush hush. You can kind of, if you have an experience, you can talk about it without getting criticized. But in bad ways of, I'm trying to see how I could say this the right way without pissing anybody off. Unfortunately, sometimes the TV forefront isn't doing it justice the way it should. Meaning, every time you watch TV, things are happening, and that's not reality. Things don't
Thank you.
happen all the time,
100%.
and when people come into our group and we start talking about how equipment can be manipulated and their faces just drop, and I'm like, but that's not to say. I can almost guarantee somebody in my group, when they first start within the first year, they'll have at least a person. You just got to give it time. Whether you capture an EVP or you see something that you can't explain. So we train on all that stuff, and it sucks too when you do public events and a lot of the public asks questions. Hey, is that real or is this real? I saw this on TV, and I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
We tell everyone on our events, turn your phones off. And when all sitting around the presentation table and they're turning their phones off, you have the REM pods going off, the K2 meters maxing out, and they're like, "Is that no? It's your phone." That's why we tell you to do that. So well, we try
Yeah,
to do
everybody nowadays is they've been so immersed in it everywhere you turn that they go into it with these preconceived notions. And like I say, paranormal investigating is like fishing. You're not always going to catch something, but that's not why we're here. We're here because we love what we do. So keeping a team together is not easy. Have you guys? What are some of the hurdles that you've had to face since you started in 2003?
Oh my God. The group dynamic changed so much over 20 years, you can imagine. It's keeping people, I guess, motivated, because a lot of like, a lot of times people don't realize, like, we investigated a lot of the places, like, we're coming up on 20 to 25 investigations at the same location.
Oh,
And
wow.
when you're in the group for that long, it's like, we go somewhere else, and I'm like, it's important to get the numbers at this specific location because you need the data. It's all about data and numbers. And if we're trying to prove this and trying to take this whole field to the next level, this is what you're a part of. I understand everyone wants to go and investigate other places and you want the crazy shit to happen. We all do, but it doesn't happen all the time and you need to get that. Everyone I always tell people too when we go out and investigate, just because nothing happened, it doesn't mean it was a wasted night. You just gained more
Right.
experience.
Right.
More experience than the next person that didn't go out.
Mhm.
That personalities is a big one. The bigger the team, the bigger the personalities.
Yeah.
So trying to keep everyone from not killing everyone every week because it can get real. It's tough. It's very
Yeah.
tough. So as a leader, I have to give pep talks. Um, Sometimes I just got to put the fear in the crew, so they sometimes hate me and they don't hate each other. It's all different ways that I've developed over the years. Growing up when I was 18 years old, I was a supervisor at Wendy's, gained a lot of skills there. I was a receiving manager at Sports Authority. I'm now a lead DSP where I work with individuals with special needs. So I've gained a lot of different supervisory styles over the years that you can use on people. One style is not going to work for all 35 people I have in the group. So you got to kind of manage it that way.
Mhm.
It's not easy. It's tough. It's very tough. Keeping people motivated, coming down every week. They're paying membership fees. They're paying to come down. So it's like I gotta balance all that out. So it's tough. It's very tough. And then they see the stuff on TV, and it's like, hey, how come we don't have a show? And it's why not?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, the
that's
reality
it.
is when you do your job right as a paranormal investigator, it's not entertaining enough to be on TV. It's what it comes down to.
It's a very boring field. We tell people it's like come to our events. We're like, yeah, nothing's gonna happen probably. The chances of something happening are very slim to none. That the hour that they're with us. So,
Mhm.
but everyone enjoys it though. It's you got to keep it motivated. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of personalities, though, I mean, do you ever find that in the industry, ego has kind of become a big part of the personality type for some of the bigger, I won't say bigger, but for some of the individuals in the industry, do you notice that? And do you ever see that with your team? Like somebody just has a run of luck with some experiences and all of a sudden they get like a big head to them. They think they know everything.
With my own team, no. I feel like everyone they the way our team works is we have like a rank. We run off like the army ranking system. I've never was never in the military, but it just works as a chain of command, so
Hmm.
people know their place. And if somebody steps out of line, you're going to be put back real quick. Um, it's just the way it goes. So nobody really steps out of line within the team. If somebody has a personal experience, they want to share it, and then they want to try to debunk it, and they're trying to tell the other members, "Hey, try to figure this out. See if you have the same experience." So, but as far as the field goes, yeah, I think that some people walk in a room and they think who they are, and I'm like, you don't do half the shit I do. Not even half of it. Like
Right.
I could sit there I can go on my computer right now and tell you my number 55 investigation I did. I have an Excel spreadsheet for every single one of my investigators. I track every time we go out, I put their numbers in. So I can tell how many investigations I've been on. I can tell how many investigations all of my guys have been on. I feel like they don't do half the stuff like we do. So I laugh at that because I'm like, you have no idea. Like you have a film crew following you around. Congratulations. you know, it just I don't know. I don't know. It's just
Yeah.
yeah, I get what you're a lot of people are like that, and it sucks because I feel like if I was in that position, I would want to educate to so it's being done the right way. and so people know just because you have a hit on a K2 meter and you have your cell phone on, you might want to think about that,
Right.
Yeah. It's about knowing the difference between providing entertainment maybe for like a fundraiser at a location versus being a responsible investigator for a client or somebody who needs help. Okay. I think Britt, you're up with our next question regarding just some general paranormal fun talks.
Yes. Okay. So, what would you say has been one of the wildest investigations you've done to date?
Oh boy. There's a couple.
Ooh.
All right, there's this one. It was a house investigation. Not going to say the name, obviously, but this is a couple years back. It has to be now. Holy crap, probably 6 years ago. About 6, 7 years ago. Some family contacted us, and they were having experiences in their house, and there was a murder that happened in the house. There was they owned the house, and then next to the house, there was an apartment attached, and the husband wound up murdering the wife. So we go there, they call us in, we know the backline story. I didn't know the homeowners, the husband was a cop, so he showed us the crime scene photos. So we actually saw all of this stuff. And what we think happened was there was two floors, and they were fighting on the second floor. And they came down, and when you come down the stairs, there's a door that can enter into the main house, but it's obviously locked to separate the two different, families. And at about, I think it was she's like 3:45, 4 o'clock in the morning, she heard that door, like something slammed on the door. They really didn't think much of it. And apparently, I guess the two individuals they were fighting on the second floor came down, and I don't know what happened at that point, but somehow somebody got slashed with a knife. The female ran outside and collapsed on the neighbor's driveway and started to pull out. And he dragged her body across the street, picked her up, kicked open the door, and when you go through their side inside the house, the kitchen's right there. Dropped her body. She died right there. We saw all the crime scene photos, so this was so real. He then went upstairs, must have made a phone call because there was two kids in the house. His dad or mom picked the kids up, and then he proceeded to go upstairs and try to kill himself in the bathtub. Yeah. So the next morning, the family wakes up and they see there's cops all over the place, and there's a Labrador dog in the area, and sure enough, the woman passed away. They found the guy; he was still alive. We brought him to the hospital. This was 3 months prior to us coming in. So we come in, and they were having activity ever since. So we do our investigation, and it was for the most part quiet. It was eerie being in the house. Like I knew where she passed away, so I like sat right there, did an EVP session, trying to get some answers. It was very weird, And during our analysis process, we captured an EVP, and we labeled it as Class D. There was something there, just couldn't make out the words. It was a female's voice. So we do the reveal, and we play this for the homeowner. The homeowner freaks out, runs into the other room, hysterical crying. So we're like, what the hell? It's Class D. What's the big deal? So after she composes herself, she comes back. She's like, that's the woman's voice. And she spoke in a Jamaican accent. And she said, we asked, what's your name? And she said, my name is Sonia. And that was her name. And we didn't figure it out because it was so distorted. And she said she had a heavy accent. And that was the woman's name. And we were like, oh, okay, this is real. It is real. We wound up doing like 2 cleansings in there, and then the homeowner sold the house and moved to Florida, and that was it.
Wow.
We've never been back. This was crazy. Yeah, it was pretty wild. That was a tough case. Well, everyone that was on that case will never forget it. We'll never forget that case. I always think about it all the time. Yeah, there's that one, and then there's another one called Halsey House. in Southampton. So when we do our public events, we do them at Rogers Mansion every month. And during Halloween time, we did Rogers and Halsey House. Halsey House was the original house built in the 1600s in Southampton. And we were there. I was running the Rogers, and my wife Shannon, she was running Halsey. And it's only like a mile down the road. And wife's psychic. So every once in a while, she'll go in like a trance when she's at an investigation. We call it going bye-bye because she's not there. She's gone, you know. And the team calls us up. It's towards the end of the night. We're wrapping up. And they're like, hey, you guys got to get over here. And we're like, what? And they're like, oh, Shannon went bye-bye. And I'm like, what's this any different than any other time? They're like, no, you need to get here. And we're like, oh, shit. Okay. So they had her outside the house. So on the second floor of the house, there's a fireplace. And there's a giant hole in front of it. She kept trying to run up towards that area, we believe. So they had to pull out of the house. And we pull up, and I'll never forget the look that she gave me. And I looked over to Dimitri, who was our second in command, and I'm like, tag, you're it. Because if I walk over there, she's going to knock me out. So he walks over. They let her go. She tries running back. He tackles her down to the ground. We ground her out. Whatever it was, she had an attachment from that day. And this is back in 2019, October of 2019. Still to this day, she has this attachment. Been that many years later.
Wow.
So we finally ground her out. And I remember driving her home. She was just not with it. You could tell she was just out of it. We get home, sit on the couch. She's sitting next to me. I'm watching TV, and she's just staring at me with this dead stare. Doesn't blink, and I'm just like, all right, I know, like, I can't pay her any attention because I don't know what the hell I'm dealing with right now. Finally went to bed, and that was it. The next couple of days, she finally came out of it a little bit, but she was still messed up from it. And she started doing these automatic writings out of nowhere. Started writing these poems of what happened. We still don't know exactly what went down. I think it's somebody from the 1600s that was actually murdered in that house that never got their story out. They're using my wife Shannon as a vessel to try to get this information. So she started doing all these writings, and she recorded it on a digital recorder. And March of 2020, during COVID, we were able to get in there. It was me, Shannon, and Dimitri. And we go in there, just us three. We set cameras up, and we had that recording. We play it. And we walk outside the house for 20 minutes. We time it out. No one's in the house, right? So then 20 minutes later, we go back in. We pick a room by ourselves. He recites all of these poems, these automatic writings aloud, and we're doing our thing. Nothing happens. Wrap up for the night. When we do our analysis, we picked up over 125 EVPs that night in a matter of 20 minutes while we were outside the house. It was insane. I can't even explain. Every single audio device picked up some type of audio. It was wild. So now we're trying to take all of this data, and every little EVP and every little personal experience is now a puzzle piece that we got to try to put together and try to figure out what this message is, because I feel like the attachment's not going to go away until it gets its message across. And and that's it. And she's in the process of writing a book now on the whole experience. But that was everyone that was there that night. Same thing. We'll never forget that. That was crazy. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. That sounds intense. Now, just off of that, does your team subscribe to any type of psychic protection techniques, or you being more of the science mind, you kind of don't go by that theory?
Oh yeah, sure. No, we do. We have a psychic department in the group. Everyone kind of has their own way of protecting themselves. I was brought up Catholic, so I wear a cross. I'm science, but I believe in all that. It's not that I'm close-minded to it. Everyone's like, oh, you could open up. I'm like, I don't want to. I see what my psychics go through, and I'm like, I don't want to deal with that. When I go to sleep at night, I want to go to sleep. I don't want to have voices and spirits talking to me, But yeah, no, we all do. Some people carry stones. Everyone's got their thing that they do. I just feel like in some instances, no matter what you could do to protect yourself, if whatever's there wants to get its point across, and you just happen to be that one person, you're it, and that's it. Me, I go in, I block. I'm a blocker. I go in and I block everything out. I've sat in front of psychics at fairs. They can't read me. My mom went to a psychic once, brought pictures, and the psychic picked up mine and said, he's dead. That's how much of a block I have up, to psychics. So I don't want to hear it. I don't want to see it.
Fair.
But yeah, I mean, in that situation, I think that because we were going there so often, she felt connected to the place, and by her connecting to it, I think, however it viewed it from the other side, and whenever they saw her, it was just like, for 300 plus years, I've been trying to get my message across. Now I got it. Now I have that person that can do it, and I'm not letting go until it's across. So
yeah,
it's
fascinating.
That's what we do. It feels dangerous, but I'm up for it. So
yeah, it can be. Kind of circling back around, we were talking about egos in the field. I noticed on your Facebook that you posted some really kind words about not letting negative people affect one's love for the paranormal. What do you think about all the negativity floating around in the field right now? It seems like there's a lot of, it's almost like a giant soap opera within the paranormal field.
Yeah, I kind of ignore it. You know what? I keep my team so busy where we just don't have time for it. Especially with social media the way it is, we're on everything, and sometimes you get negative comments, and that's going to happen. You can't expect to put something out there and have everyone like it. It's not going to happen. You're going to have people not like it, and that's fine. It is what it is. You know what? Take that and use that energy to put it towards something else, to do your next thing that you want to work on in the field. I just don't pay no mind to it. There's a lot of stuff going on with the back and forth, and
yeah, there is a lot.
It doesn't bother my team. I can care less. I don't care.
That's good. I think that's kind of the best.
No conventions a lot. I see it at conventions.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I see it at conventions sometimes. People get and I'm like, why? What's the point? Who cares?
It's very cliquey.
I don't know.
Everybody has their own little clique, and everybody's kind of talking about pointing fingers, and I don't respect your methods because of this, and and I think that is, if we could all just why can't we all just get along? If we all put that energy into what we're doing, and which is trying to further the field. And like you said, approach it collecting data, making this a legitimate type. I hesitate to use that word, but it is a science, and it needs to be more legitimized. And I think if we all put our energy toward that, rather than trying to tear each other down, I think we would get further.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's why maybe not everyone takes the paranormal team seriously, is because you do see almost mocking, because people dramatize things, and then there is the interfighting between who does it this way, who does it that way, and it's hard to gain respect as a field when you can't even respect each other sometimes, and all you see is the fighting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
But
it's tough. It's tough, and it sucks too, because there's a lot of people out there that are in it for the wrong reasons. They're in it for the thrills and stuff like that,
and for the fame.
They misuse equipment. I mean, there is something we had something on our table about the flashlight trick and how it's debunked. Like, we were able to debunk it. It's what, if you want a flashlight to turn on, give me a plastic flashlight, turn the flashlight off, put it down, and have something turn it on. Because using mag lights that are metal, it's simple physics. I can play this out all day long, and a lot of people don't want to hear it. A lot of people don't want to hear about how the K2 meter isn't just an EMF meter; it also picks up radio frequencies. I filmed with film crews before. Depending on where that cameraman's positioned, your wireless and mic'd up, that thing is maxing out. But you can't tell people that, because then you're the bad guy. And I'm like, I'm just trying to educate you. That's it. The REM pod's another one. I mean,
100%.
Simple signals set that off. We have our motion sensors that we use, radio frequencies set them off. When we go on the walkies, they go off. And it's a lot of people wouldn't think that, like, how would set that off, but we try to tell people, like, especially when we're doing events and we're on the walkies and something goes on and a guest would be like, the motion sensor just went on. I'm like, we're on the walkies, the radio frequency. Like, really? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
But people get pissed when you say stuff like that. And I'm like, damn, all right.
You burst their bubble.
Well, that's like the whole orb debate.
I'm not trying to. Oh yeah, you know what? I'll just call somebody up from Nikon. They could tell. The people that make the cameras are telling you what that is, but you don't want to. That's fine. You can have your little fake in the camera. That's cool. No problem.
Yeah.
Well, I love 35 millimeter cameras. You didn't get that stuff.
Yep. Absolutely. But I think one good thing that did come out of the television shows, at least in my opinion, is learning about all these cool new locations that I didn't know about and like all over the world. So out of everywhere in the world, if you can investigate, what is your bucket list investigation?
World, that's tough. Well, we are hitting one up this summer in July. We've just booked West Virginia Penitentiary, which has been on my bucket list for many years. It's always like the top haunted 3 in the United States, so I'm really excited to do that. Man in the world, that's so tough. If you ask me this question tomorrow, I'll probably tell you something else. The pyramids is definitely up there. I would love to do the pyramids. That would be sick.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that, but yeah.
Being that if it was safe, I mean, I wouldn't do it now, but if I could and it was safe, yeah, I would do that. There's a lot. There's so much, especially over in Europe, because here in the United States, we're dealing with stuff that's a couple hundred years old. They're dealing with things that are thousands of years old. So the history is just unbelievable. But the Colosseum in Rome would be awesome to do. There's just so much. There's so much. A lot of people ask me if I would ever do the Suicide Forest in Japan. No, I would not.
Oh yeah. No.
I'm not into the whole. If you could die, do it. I'm good. I'm not into that stuff. It would be cool to see, but I don't think I would do it. But there's
Fair.
Winchester Mystery House. I've always seen that on when I was a kid. I'd love to go there. Just to go there too would be cool.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Have you been all over the United States? Oh, Alcatraz. Have you been just in this area or all over?
I've been a lot. I did the Queen Mary twice. That was really cool.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's good.
I'm a big Titanic buff, so that's like the closest you're going to get to the Titanic, and that was really cool. I did a convention at the Stanley Hotel in Colorado. That was another awesome place. That's far west as I've gone. A lot of stuff in Pennsylvania. We go to Gettysburg like 2 or 3 times a year.
There's so much in Gettysburg. So much. The Balladary Inn, if you ever go up there, Balladary Inn it's a good place to stay and a good place to investigate. Both. I'm a Missouri girl, I'm Missouri State Pen is a big one in my neck of the woods.
Nice. I see it on Instagram all the time. I'm like, that looks cool, but it's a little far out of our way.
Yeah, it's a little bit. Like it's just an 18-hour drive. Come on now.
Yeah, we did Crescent Sanatorium last year.
Did that twice.
We got in there and we did because they're going through a legal battle now. But
that'll be Meyer. It'll be closed. Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. That was a cool investigation. I hope they can save it.
I hope they can too. It's a mess there right now, but yeah, it's huge too. There's so many buildings to investigate there.
Yeah.
I never did Waverly Hills. That's one I would like to do. Just because it's like everyone's gone there. It's like we got to go at least once just to see what happens. But probably another one.
Yeah. Well, we're coming up on the hour here, so we're going to start wrapping things up a little bit. One thing that we love to do with all of our guests, it's my favorite question, is regarding what we call the oh shit moment. So this is the moment that you had where like you were interested in the paranormal, you think it's real, you're like, oh, you know, be an investigator, and then something happens that makes you go, oh shit, this is real. Like this is a paranormal is legit. So can you tell us a little bit about your oh shit moment?
Yeah. A couple years ago, we were investigating Penhurst Asylum, and we had 12 of us there, and we're taking a little break. So we're right outside the Mayflower building, and 10 of us had digital audio recorders, and nobody heard anything at the time. So, the investigation done, whatever. Next couple of days, I'm going through my analysis, sitting at my desk doing my audio, and I hear a female screaming at the top of her lungs. And I start texting the crew, and I'm like, "Hey, did any of you guys pick this up? It's while we're doing our little break right outside the Mayflower building." And everyone's like, "Nah, I didn't. Nobody picked anything up." And every time one of us says, "Oh, I got a crazy thing to play for you guys in the meeting," everyone's like, "Yeah, whatever." So I bring this in, I play it, and everyone's jaws just drop, and you hear it like this female starts to scream, and then it peaks really loud, and then it dies out, and we don't acknowledge it on audio. And the best thing about that was out of 10 recorders, only mine picked it up. And that
Oh
was
wow.
where I'm like, I cannot explain that. If it was audible, it would be on all of them. And we
Right.
were all very close to each other. So the fact that only one recorder out of 10 picked it up, that was kind of where I was like, give it to a skeptic. Tell me what that is,
Yeah.
because I can't explain it. I
Right.
can't explain that, and that's probably one of the moments where I was like, "Wow, this." Every time you get something like that is just wild, where
Yeah.
you're the only one, and I can play. I have all the files. I have all 10 recorders. I can play that moment. The only one.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's cool. That's
That
really
is
cool.
It is cool. It's just
Yeah.
those moments keep you energized and excited to keep going. Is there anything that, since we're nearing the end, is there anything that you would like to promote or share?
I mean, just if people want to check us out on our website. Our website's the biggest one, www.liparanormalinvestigators.com. We're constantly building on it. Um, our website's very different from a lot of websites. I wanted our website when we created it back in 2006 to be an information superhighway. It has everything on there. We're still adding so much more to it. We're going to be doing a cryptozoology thing. We're adding more to that. Eventually, we're going to put up something on UFOs and elementals is going to be our big one. And our stones department is going to be putting up a bunch of information on different types of stones in the field. And then we also have a religion department that is going to put all that stuff out there, so you can look up, especially people are doing house investigations, if this homeowner is this religion, how they deal with the paranormal as opposed to another religion. So that's another thing we're working on right now. So we just love people to go on there and just take the information, take it, use it for yourselves, use it as training, whatever, educate yourself. Because that's what we're all about. So helping out in any way we can.
Hell
Awesome.
yeah.
It's
Love
great.
it.
Yeah, your website's amazing.
Dude,
Yeah.
the gadget list alone, I was like,
We have a lot,
all the
we have a
equipment.
lot
I
of
was like,
stuff.
no way. I love it.
Yeah, we have it all. We have a lot of that stuff's duplicates. We have so much stuff.
Well, hey, do you think our team and your team could ever investigate one time?
Sure. Yeah,
Hell
we should do that. We should definitely. You guys are not far away from us either, so we should definitely. That'd be pretty cool.
That would be
That'd
fun
really
to
cool.
do a little collaborative investigation. That'd be awesome.
That would
yeah.
be good.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, thank you
We'll
so
have to
much
find a
for
place.
taking your time.
Yes.
Yes, we definitely
No
will do
problem.
that. We'll definitely be in touch, figure out a place. And we'll be sure to, with your permission, maybe we could film it for another YouTube video or something like that. But thank you so much for taking the time out of your day and talking with us about your team and all of your fabulous ideas and resources that you have for the paranormal industry as a whole. I want to thank everyone who's watching tonight and checking out all of our YouTube videos. If you haven't seen any of our other Q&As, we have tons of them, and we would love it if you check them out, commented, liked them, shared them, all that fun stuff. Don't forget to please subscribe to our channel, like the video, comment, and also hit the little bell to get notifications on future content. And yeah, all the fun stuff. So we hope you guys enjoyed our conversation. We had a blast. Thank you again so much, Michael. It was such a good time. And to everyone out there, stay curious, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.